Good day, everyone. Today on the bench I'm going to tie you up a real favorite of mine, one of these Stonefly imitations. This is a fly that I'll be taking. I've been asked to join our friend Lemoyne Hyde and Jan down in their neck of the woods down in Idaho, and this is one of the flies we'll be needing down there in certain areas. This is the Kaufman Stimulator in gray. This book here right here too, folks, if you're looking for a really good benchside reference book, there's thousands of flies in here, and Randall and Mary Kaufman has put together probably the best fly tying compilation of patterns from all over, dries, nymphs, mergers, steelhead, warm water, saltwater flies in there. It's a very, very good book, and I've been pleased that he put several of my patterns in this book too. It was a real honor to be included in that. But just to give you an idea of a real good book, if you need one for your tying bench, I'd recommend that of Randall's. And this is his pattern. I always enjoyed tying stimulators, and let's go over the materials you need to tie the fly. There are lots of parts. We're going to be using a 1270 Daiichi size 6. You can go to 8s, 10s, and 12s. With this gray, we can go to right down 18s is they tie them really, really small with certain colors, maybe like limes and that color. So we're going to be using some gray elk hair for the tail and the wing. I'm going to be using some red 6/0 fire orange thread for this fly. The body, I'm going to be using some gray, this kind of a blue dun antron. I'm using that on there. The thorax, I'll be using some more antron here and more of the orangey color for your salmon flies. The underwing, I'm going to use some crystal flash. This is what I like to use a lot of times, is more of a kind of a bait fish. It's very nice coloration if you can find that. Over the wing, just for a bit of an indicator, you can put some, calls for calf body hair, so here we have some of that. The hackles we're going to use on the rear, I'm going to be using some kind of a dun, blue dun grizzly in the back. And on the thorax, we're going to use some oversized grizzly. And I believe that's all the pieces and parts on this one. They're just a really nice fly to tie. One of the best patterns I've ever seen. Randall really created a really nice pattern here. Even with all the new stuff coming out, this one still is effective, but it also looks good. So we'll get our tail on there, or the thread on the shank as usual. Get out our under fur here on our tail. Put that in our stacker. Get that down, get our hair all lined up. And we have a very short tail on here. I'm just going to catch it very loose turns to start with. Just going to wrap these butts down. The body is very, very loose. Tied on there very loose. Now I'm going to come following it back with tighter turns. And then when I come to the rear, I can just grab my tail in a little bit. I can take a little soft turn, kind of gathers everything up on that. Also forgot to mention, I'm going to be using some extra fine gold wire on here to reinforce the hackle. I'll tie that in at the rear. Then the rear hackle is going to be the blue dun, but to start with, I'm going to go up here with my body, which will be the blue dun antron. And I've got this on a spool, taking loose turns here basically, not too tight, and just wind that forward. Really easy to use. fly floats really well. You can fish it in some really strong current. There's lots of color variations that are a little prettier to look at than this color here, but this gray is very effective. Going out to catch some fish. Let's get her done. Get some nice wide turns of our hackle. And wind that forward. You see some thread pointing out at the back. A little bit of red, that's okay too. It's not going to hurt your pattern at all. Almost a little bit of a strike trigger, if you will. Just barely poking through there at the end. Okay, so now we'll come in with some of our crystal flash. Just take a few strands right the thorax here, tie her down to the back, come out to the end of the tail. Don't need too much. A little bit of a little glint on there to something else for them to see. These wings are pretty pronounced on the stoneflies, you know, so we're going to put on a fairly good chunk of hair on the front of my wing. And I always stack. Usually I'll lean to a little bit more in my stacker. If I need to pull a little bit out, I can if it's too much. When I get it on my pattern, if I feel it's a little too thick, I can always just pull a few off to my desired. It's always hard to guess exactly how many you need. So I'm going to come out the tips are going to come out to the tip of the tail. Take a soft turn. Now when I keep my pressure, I'm going to pull up. I'm pulling up on that. That'll hold your wing on the top. The front, I'm just going to trim these butts off. There we go. So now we'll get a little bit of our calf body hair. You can put some Antron on there. This is basically, Randall put that on there for more of an indicator. Really nothing that the fish sees. It's just going to be a little easier for the angler. I'll wind down my threads, kind of get all these thorax tied down. There we go. Pretty good. Now we'll take our grizzly and I'm going to tie it dull side forward. I did the back as wet fly style. This one here I'm going to come in dry fly where it's going to be. I got to get my tie-in point right there at the base of the wing. Just going to use my rotary vise, my Norvise here to dub the thorax. This is my orangey colored Antron I'm going to use for my thorax, which is very prominent on the stoneflies. Just build that heavy thorax up. There we go. There. Now we're just going to take about 3 turns, segmentations in there of the grizzly, and that's oversized a little bit. Clip that off. Come in here, whip finish. Fire orange thread looks nice. Put a little dab of head cement on that. You're done. And there's a very effective fly pattern. Depends on the waters you're going to. You know the areas. Check your shops, your hatch charts, and so forth. But if you want a gray stimulator, there's a very nice one. Thanks to Randall Kaufman for that. It's a great fly pattern. So there's a good one from the vise, we're going to do a smaller little lime one up at some point too. There for your lime sallies and other little stoneflies, your oranges and salmon flies and so forth. So thanks for watching on the bench again. We'll catch you again real soon.